Welcome, one and all, to the first episode of Pacific414 episode review here on the Twitch channel. I've done previous episodes on the YouTube channel, but tonight I'm doing this episode on the Twitch channel. And the episode I'm going to be reviewing is, well, as you can see in the title, it's going to be The Mandalorian, Chapter 10, Episode 10, The Passenger. So, in this episode, it picks up right where the Marshal left off. Let me shut myself up in case that's picking up. Okay, got that fixed. Anyways, like I said, this episode picks up where episode 9, chapter 9, the Marshal left off, with the Mandalorian and the child speeding away on the speeder bike, and as they're speeding away, their dust trail is kicking up, and there are these would-be bounty hunters who are looking to ambush Mando. There's one tying a rope to a rock that's been already staked into the rock, and there are a few others just waiting to jump Mando. And what ends up happening is they end up burying the sheet, which will be used. Sorry about hitting the mic. But anyways, it's used to knock the Mando off his speeder bike, and they begin to attack him. Mando's fending them off. Everything that was on the speeder bike is scattered all about. Mando is pinned against the rocks after ducking underneath one would-be bounty hunter with an axe and evading him and fighting him off. And then, of course, his buddy comes along, and it's 2 against 1, with the third one having been shot by Mando in his left leg, so he's limping, dragging his leg, but he's going to a bag, and it has his blaster rifle. And he brings out the blaster rifle, still dragging his leg. His other 2 accomplices are holding Mando back. Of course, Mando's doing what he can to fight him off. And what ends up happening is Mando uses his grappling hook to grab the blaster rifle from this small would-be bounty hunter, because the guy was small. I can't remember what species he is, but he's small. And what ends up happening is Mando ends up using the grappling hook, and it wraps around the blaster rifle. He pulls it toward him, ducks, hits the other 2 bounty hunters, knocking them out, and then what the smaller bounty hunter asks in his alien language is, I've got the child, and I want a bargaining chip, because he ends up picking up the child, and the Mandalorian's willing to bargain with him. He says there's plenty of good things to bargain with in the wreckage of the speeder bike. And what this other bounty hunter wants is he wants Mando's jetpack. So Mando gives him the jetpack, gets Baby Yoda, who is put on the ground, and walks right toward Mando. And as this would-be bounty hunter starts going away with Mando's jetpack, Mando hits a button on his suit, which ignites the booster rockets on his jetpack, sending the bounty hunter up into the air. And then what ends up happening is the bounty hunter falls down to the ground, presumably to his death. And Mando lands the jetpack, it falls down, and next we see Mando has everything strung up as far as his belongings are concerned onto one of the poles, and he and Baby Yoda are walking back toward Mos Eisley's. We finally see Mando get back to Mos Eisley's, into Mos Eisley's cantina, where we see Peli, who we first met in The Gunslinger in episode 5, and then we saw her in last week's season premiere of The Mandalorian, because this episode does take place on Tatooine. Well, Peli is sitting with a bug creature, and they're playing a game of poker. And Peli says that Dr. Mandible, and that's the name of this bug character, well, he's having a good game against her, and she needs a few extra credits from Mando. And Mando at first is hesitant, but then of course Peli, puts one over on him, gives him a guilt trip, and he ends up giving her the credits that she supposedly needs, only to find out that it was a ruse. And Mando, is seen there with Boba Fett's helmet, because he was able to recover Boba Fett's armor from the Marshal Cade back in the episode The Marshal. And Peli says, "So you found the other Mandalorian and you killed him?" And Mando says, "No. There was a guy at that other... God, I hate it when I do this, when I forget the name of the town. But Mos Pueblos. And he was wearing the armor, and he helped him get rid of the Krayt Dragon and was able to secure Boba Fett's armor." So Dr. Mandible knows where some Mandalorians are. He doesn't know if they're the same Mandalorians that were on Navarro, but he being the Mando, has to agree to take a passenger. And we end up meeting that passenger once we get back to Peli's shop. And of course, one of the other, payoffs was the fact that Mando gave Peli the Krayt Dragon meat that he had on his speeder bike in the last episode. So, long story short, Peli was telling this passenger, who ends up being a humanoid frog, that Mando can provide her safe passage to this world that her husband's at, along with her eggs. And Mando says, "I'm not a taxi service," and, again, Mando does agree, and he goes onto his ship. The frog goes onto her ship, and of course Baby Yoda had followed the frogs, because what Baby Yoda tranced by is the jar that has the unhatched eggs of the frog woman. So they get on the Razor Crest, they leave Tatooine, and as they're traveling on in Tatooine, they are intercepted by two X-Wings. And the X-Wing pilots were named Carson and Wolf, and they want to know about the Razor Crest transponder signal. And of course, Mando says, well, the ship's pre-Empire and it doesn't need a transponder signal. And Carson, one of the X-Wing pilots, says, well, that was then. This is now New Republic jurisdiction and New Republic rules, and what we say is that you need to have that transponder signal. And of course, they also bring up what happened in The Prisoner, because that also plays a small role in this episode. And the fact that Mando was with the other former bounty hunters, and he was on board to release one of the bounty hunters that was captured. Of course, Mando escaped. He destroyed the droid that was trying to, kill Baby Yoda near the end of the episode. And of course, Mando hears that and he immediately makes a run for it. and he goes down to the planet, up into the clouds, and the two pilots are commenting that an old wreck like the Razor Crest isn't going to be able to last long in the atmosphere, especially at the speeds that they're going and at the rate that Mando's, twisting and turning. And of course, one of them remarks as we see them making their rapid descent is that he's going toward a crevice, and Mando gets into the crevice. He skids onto the snow and ice, goes back, uses his thrusters, and ends up sliding back and impacting with some ice behind him as the two X-Wings fly by. Well, everything seems all, cool, calm, and wonderful, and then the ice beneath the Razor Crest begins to crackle and break, and they fall down to the cave below. So, a few hours probably went by. It doesn't really tell you how much time went by before Mando regained consciousness, and of course Mando wakes up the Frog Lady, and then goes down below to check on the child. And what was happening before Mando even gets down there is that the child sees a jar, and the child wants one of the eggs that are in the jar. Of course, he ends up getting it in this episode. That's right. With these episode reviews, I'm going to be going all over the place. I may give a lot of spoilers. I may only give a few spoilers. But eventually in the episode, Baby Yoda opens up the jar, starts eating some of the eggs, and of course, the mother's concerned because she knows that some eggs of hers are missing, and Mando even asks at one point in the episode, "How many did you eat?" And there's a part in this episode where Mando is outside the Razor Crest trying to conduct repairs, and Mando sees little baby Yoda, or the child, whatever you want to call him, and says, make yourself useful and give me some help. And little baby Yoda is pointing to his left because the frog woman has left, and she's wandered toward one of the ice caves. And Mando uses his infrared, sees her trail and where she's going, and when he finally gets inside the ice cave, Mando sees that the frog lady's in a hot spring. And he says, "I know it's warm down here, but we can't stay down here. Nightfall's coming and we've got to go." And as Mando's helping her gather up her remaining eggs that are inside the hot springs, he does tell the child no, as the child's going to reach for one and eat it. So the child wanders off and he sees even more eggs. But little does the child know, or even the Mandalorian or the Frog Lady, is that these eggs have arachnids. That's right. For anyone who hates spiders, they probably wouldn't have liked this episode because there were spiders in this episode. I thought I was watching Arachnophobia again. All we needed was John Goodman. But anyways, little baby Yoda had cracked open one of the eggs of one of the spiders that didn't make it, starts eating it, starts eating the insides of the egg, and the other eggs start hatching. The camera pans around as Mando gets up and sees that they're surrounded by all these eggs, and then here comes the large mother or father spider, and the chase is on. And, there's little spiders chasing Mando, the Frog Lady, Baby Yoda. And of course, then there's the big spider. They're running through the cave, and Mando sets off 3 charges, managing to kill the large spider. But by the time they get to the Razor Crest, they are overwhelmed. Sorry about that stuttering. They are overwhelmed, and even one of the spiders spits a web at Mando, temporarily making him incapacitated as far as being able to use his blaster. He manages to get his arm free, and there's a continued chase scene in the Razor Crest as they're trying to get to the flight deck. And once they reach the flight deck, Mando does use his torch to burn alive some of the spiders, and he manages to seal off the flight deck. Well, some time goes by, and Mando says, we've got to get out of here. He's not even sure, because of all the damage the Razor Crest has suffered, because it's leaking fluids and it's smoking, it's sparking, that it'll even be able to get airborne. So he says, I hope this works. Hits a few switches and buttons to ignite the engine, and hey, Professor, I'm giving a very rough, and I do mean very rough, review of The Mandalorian. As you've probably seen on my Pacific414 Facebook page and everything, I'm just going to let everybody know, and this is the main reason why I'm doing this, is that for some reason, unbeknownst to me, no explanation whatsoever from them, my YouTube channel was terminated. I am fighting it. I have appealed it. And I had originally planned to do this on the YouTube channel because I feel it's more appropriate for the YouTube channel. But until I can get that YouTube channel back, and I am going to fight to get it back, it's going to be on here. So So do I. So do I. At least I still have this channel for right now. And, the people I feel bad for are the 7 subscribers that I had who actually enjoyed my content. Those are the people I feel bad for, because I got no warning whatsoever. I didn't have any copyright claims, no copyright strikes. I didn't have any terms of service claims or strikes against me. No warning whatsoever. It's just that last night, posted up my Pacific414 episode review of Star Trek Discovery, Forget Me Not, and I didn't hold back. I gave my honest opinion of the episode. I didn't enjoy the episode, and I said so in my review. Yeah, I used some adult language, but I've seen other reviewers use adult language, and their channels are still up. And, wake up this morning around 6:30 and go to check and see how the video's doing, because shortly after I posted it already had 3 views. So I thought, okay, maybe this is an episode of Pacific414 episode reviews that kicks up. And I thought that would be the case. So let me just see how many views I've gotten since I did the live stream and everything, and it says that my account was terminated, but no explanation why. Checked my Gmail, no explanation whatsoever as to why it was terminated. I see the time they sent the email, which was 3:45 this morning, local time, and in that email, all it says, violating terms of service, but no specific reason as to what terms of service I violated. Anytime I uploaded a video onto that channel, and if there was, some sort of copyright claim, okay, I would go in and I would edit out the part of the video that had it, if any video had it, and I would take it out. Even if it meant ruining the video, I would take it out. And, I've gotten in touch with, YouTube's Twitter page, and I've gotten in touch with YouTube themselves, and I'm just waiting on a response, because on their Twitter page, they just, give you the corporate line, and I'm going to fight this. I am going to fight this, and I am going to get that Pacific414 YouTube channel back up. And I've even told them, I said, if I have to change a few things on that channel, I'm going to change it. But, are they censoring me because they don't like the fact that I didn't like the episode? Well, then maybe hire better writers to give me a better episode that I'm going to like. Because Star Trek Discovery is a mess. And I know I've gotten off topic here with my Mandalorian review. So I'll get back to that real quick. But if you're gonna terminate somebody's channel because it supposedly violated your terms, and your community guidelines, then at least send them a warning. Because guess what? There is no email giving me any warning. I've had this channel restarted last November. It originally started back in December of 2011 before I briefly took it down and then brought it back up. So, like I said, I'm going to fight this, and I'm hoping I win. I'm not hoping I win. I know I'm going to win. Because even before each and every video on the channel, like you saw before I started talking here, I put a warning that the content may not be appropriate for those under 18. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. And why? Because I might say something that, somebody of a certain age doesn't need to hear. And I've even seen videos where people have said that they put an age restriction and they've still had their channel taken down. So all I want is a clear-cut explanation. No, running around the corner. No wishy-washy explanation. Give me a clear-cut explanation to let me fix whatever needs to be fixed so I can have that channel back. Now back to The Mandalorian. Okay, sorry for that diversion. But I feel I need to let it out. And I'll probably talk about it again tonight during Friday Night Frontiers at 9 o'clock. But anyway, get back to The Passenger. In this episode, as I've said, there's spiders going after Mando. They're in the cockpit. He uses his torch to extinguish a few of the spiders. And there's a large spider that gets on top of the Razor Crest as the Razor Crest is trying to limp off the ground. And it causes them to crash back onto the ground. And so what ends up happening is all of a sudden you see red flashes. And who is it? It's the two X-Wing pilots who we met earlier in the episode, Carson and Wolf. They are not only shooting the small spiders, but they're shooting and killing the big spider after the big spider jumped on the Razor Crest, and you can see its mouth open with all its teeth, and it's just sliding across the cockpit windshield, and they managed to kill the small spiders, and of course Mando leaves the cockpit, goes through the cargo bay, and you see all the cobwebs, and Mando even kills a small spider that's still inside the Razor Crest, and comes out of the Razor Crest where there was hull damage, which I'm sorry I did not mention that earlier in this review. But he gets out there, and the two pilots are still shooting, but the main pilot, Carson, says, in other times, someone like you would be arrested. But because of what you tried to do, and this is during episode 6 on the New Alliance prison ship. I know I keep hitting the mic, I'm sorry. But what you did on the New Alliance prison ship, we're going to let you off with a warning this time. But you better get that transponder fixed. And Mando even asked, would you help me patch up my ship so I can get it back up and get to my destination? And that's when they mentioned, get that transponder fixed. Just blatantly telling them, no, you do what we've asked you to do. And that's it. We're not going to help you get off this planet. Well, Mando has to do all the repairs that he can on his own. Manages to do what repairs he can. Says that they're all going to have to get cozy and comfy inside the flight deck, because that's the only place that could be pressurized. So, the Razor Crest this time is able somehow, I don't know how, but somehow it's able to lift off, get back into space, and you see all the damage that's been done to the Razor Crest. Somehow, some way, I know, story reasons, it's able to get up and continue going sublight speeds to its destination. Because that's another thing I skipped over. I'm sorry, but I do end up doing that in these reviews. That the Frog Lady couldn't travel to this world that her husband was at, because if she traveled at hyperspace, it would end up killing her eggs. So they had to travel at sublight speeds, and the fact that this world is a world that her husband and her staked out, where they can lay the last of their family line, the last of their hatchlings, to continue that family line, it was vital for them to get there before time ran out. And according to the jar, there's an indicator. I don't know if it was to show how many were originally in there, or if it's to show how much time she has before it's too late. So, looks like in the next episode, we may see Mando and Frog Lady and the child arrive at their destination, hopefully in time. Now, what did I think of this episode? It wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad episode, and I'll admit, any episode, even if it's an okay episode, which this episode to me was an okay episode of The Mandalorian, is still many times better than an episode of Star Trek Discovery, but that's my opinion. And you know what they say about opinions. So, this episode, for what it was an okay episode. There was a tie-in with the spiders to Star Wars Rebels. And of course, callbacks to Season 1 with Episode 6, The Prisoner. So, you're going to have callbacks. And then, of course, one of the things that we saw in this episode that I didn't recall seeing in The Marshal, or even the first time we see the Jawas in Episode 2 of The Mandalorian of Season 1, was the fact that the Jawas had their yellow eyes like we've seen before, unlike the previous Jawas that we've seen that had the red eyes. So that was nice to see that. So, it makes me think that, different locations that have Jawas, just like human beings, what differentiates them from others is maybe the color of their eyes. Some have red, some have yellow. I don't know, maybe some have, orange. Not really sure, but it was nice to see that we saw Jawas that were, first introduced to. And maybe we'll see a few more. And maybe we'll finally get to see what's underneath that hood, if it's even interesting enough. I don't know, it's not up to me. I'm not writing the show, but overall, this episode was okay. I did notice that one of the pilots of the X-Wing, and it was Wolf, was Dave Filoni, who was also in the episode The Prisoners. So, I guess that's one of the perks of being an executive producer and writer of the show. You can put yourself in the show and give yourself a credit, although I think this was a uncredited performance. But anyways, this episode was okay. Like I said, still better than Star Trek Discovery. But if you watch Friday Night Frontiers, you've heard me and you've heard TKO say what we think of Star Trek Discovery. But anyways, like I said, an okay episode of The Mandalorian. I'm still going to watch it either next Friday or whenever I can get around to it. Probably late next Friday. And then give another review on that. But all in